Good morning. My name is Ed Scott, and I'm serving as your worship associate this morning. And I am white, bald, little over 6 feet tall. And this morning I'm wearing a blue shirt, a matching tie, and a dark black suit. And on behalf of First Unitarian Universalist Church of Wilmington, Delaware, I welcome you to our hybrid service. Now, I feel a little bit like I'm a guest worship associate this morning because I've been away so long. But maybe this is just proof that there's only so long you can go scot-free. But please know that you're all welcome here, as everyone is, regardless of your origin, how you identify, whom you love, or where you find yourself this morning on your spiritual journey. If you're new to First UU, I encourage you to fill out one of our contact cards, which is new for us. And on these contact cards, you'll see places on the back where you can indicate if you want to sign up for our e-news or if you have an interest in some particular aspect of the life of the church. Our Soul Matters theme this month is cultivating compassion. And this morning we'll hear from Reverend Larry about Genderations. And we'll also hear some reflections from members of our congregation as well. I also want to extend a welcome to our musicians, Linda Henderson and Alan Price, as well as Pam Finkelman, our hymn leader for the day. And now, if you would, to extend a warm welcome to those who are joining us online by turning to the camera over here and waving to them a good morning, and then take a few moments to greet each other present. And now, take a moment to center yourself, relax, and let us bring our whole selves to our time together this morning.
So, good morning. I'm the Reverend Larry Piers, minister here at the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. And at the count of three, let's just say, welcome back, Ed. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And we'll say welcome back to Darlene later. So, for visual accessibility, I'm 6 feet tall. I have glasses, graying hair, black robe, and a green stole. So this week, Jane Goodall passed away in her sleep at the age of 91. As you may know, Dr. Jane Goodall was the founder of the Jane Goodall Institute and a UN messenger of peace. She was a remarkable example of courage and conviction, working tirelessly throughout her life to raise awareness about threats to wildlife, promote conservation, and inspire a more harmonious, sustainable relationship between people, animals, and the natural world. Jane Goodall wrote in her book, Reason for Hope, A Spiritual Journey, these words. Each one of us matters, has a role to play, and makes a difference. Each one of us must take responsibility for our own lives, and above all, show respect and love for living things around us, especially each other. So as this candle is lit in her memory, may the wisdom of her life and her words be held in our hearts as a continual wisdom in the days ahead of us. So let's pause for a moment in silence in memory of Jane Goodall. So our call to worship this morning is adapted from Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Julian Jamaica Soto. All that we are, together and individually, is part of the abundance of the universe. We are made of stars. We are made of earth. All that we have comes from earth for the labor of those in our communities, from cities and farms and oceans that enliven us, the world, and those who live in it. We are surrounded by blessing, by grace, and by possibilities. We are reflected in every other human being. We respect and honor one another's differences. We celebrate our interbeing with abundance and the practice of generosity. It is with gratitude that we join now in this time of celebration. Let us worship together.
As we light our chalice this morning, those of you at home, if you have your own chalice, I encourage you to join us in the lighting of the chalice this morning. We are a light to the world when we walk together. We are a light in the world when we acknowledge the pain of others. And we are a light for the world when we overcome our differences through peaceful means. This is the light of a loving, compassionate community. And now, please join me in the singing of hymn 1053, How Could Anyone Ever Tell You? And remain standing afterwards for our unison affirmation.
We're going to sing this hymn through 3 times. And those of you who consider yourself high voices will sing the first time through with me. And then those of you who consider yourself having low voices will sing along with my friend Rebecca Fisher the second time through, and then all of us will sing together the third time through.
And now together, First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action.
Let us join now together in a time of prayerful meditation. To begin this period of meditation and prayer, I want to share this poem by James Cruz entitled Folding Altar. I carry my church with me wherever I go, unfolding the altar of a moment while out walking with my husband, pausing to pick a few dandelions gone to seed, taking a deep breath, and then blowing, sending those silver messengers into the air above a field, each one the seed of a prayer. I say every day, I'm alive. Please, let me give up all hope for a better past and just be here by the side of the driveway, watching the wisps of clouds turning pink with evening, then purple, and listening to the complex solo of a catbird perched in a maple as we say goodbye to the light which may leave the sky tonight, but will stay with us, flickering for years to come. As we move now towards a time of shared silence, may we each find a way now to accept this invitation of the poet. Give up all hope for a better past and just be here. Let's join now in a shared silence. The poet offers, may we not give up the light, but let it stay with us, flickering. We will now turn our attention to our prayers. Please listen carefully because we're going to do this a little differently than we sometimes do it this morning. Notice that there are 3 candles. I'll ask us to turn our attention briefly to 3 different areas of our experience. First candle will represent our experiences of our wider world. The second to our concerns for ourselves and those we love. And the third candle for our joys. So, as I light this first candle, may we bring to mind those concerns in our current world that are too numerous to mention. And yet I want to call our attention to just a few. Another shooting at a congregation, this time in Manchester, England. And the continuation of senseless and inhumane gun violence. A government that cannot seem to collaborate for the benefit of the common good. A display of militarism that can send a chill through our bones as we think about some of what occurred this week as generals and other top military were brought together and told, given orders about who they should be and what we should value. So those are just 3 things I want to hold up. Now I invite you to just make the sound of a lament without words to capture your concerns about our wider world. And that was the warm-up, so let's try it again. Whoa. As we hold these concerns in our collective heart, repeat these words by Melanie DeMore after me. There are 2 lines. I'll read them, and then I'll ask you to follow. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. Now together. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. As I've lit the second candle, let's bring to mind and heart those in our own personal lives who we care about, members of this congregation, anyone that you can think about that you know personally, who you would like to send more light and more healing and more love. We'll start here. Rue. Adair. Jackie. Joey's recovery. Okay. Pete. Joshua. Anyone in this section, those you care about? James. Rosalie and Andy. Susan. Chris. In this section. So repeat after me. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. We need not hold any of these concerns alone. May those we care about feel the light and the warmth and the compassion that we can send to them. And may we commit ourselves to being that compassionate presence in the lives of others. What joys might you be experiencing that you'd like to share with this community today? Who's got a joy to share? Okay, someone made dinner for her when she arrived home hungry. Other joys? A few days. Yes, I saw a photo. A few days at the beach with your mother. Spending time with your mother. Wonderful. Go ahead, just say it out loud. Watching your daughter find her tribe. How about here? Yes. Picked apples with her grandson. Just let's savor that image for just a moment. Other joys. Hayride at Ramsey's. Who else went on the hayride? Okay, great. All right. The others are still recovering, I think. Any other joys you want to share? Okay. Oh, wow. Winterthur's Tractor and Truck Day with her grandson. Lovely. That's another image to cherish. And over here, what's a joy that you might want to share? Okay, niece Kate got a job offer. 15-mile e-bike ride. The E part is the important part of that. Okay, the body complied with the hiking request. So, joy and sorrow are woven fine, and we together in this congregation hold you, whatever your experience might be in the moment. We hold you with love. We send you light. Let's join now. Let's hear now the musical meditation. Thank you, Alan. Wonderful. So, as a Unitarian Universalist community, First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is dedicated to the personal and spiritual disciplines that cultivate in us an intentional and responsible search for truth and meaning throughout our lives. If you explore the variety of titles in our church library, you will immediately discover that we seek to learn and challenge ourselves with the insights of the world's religious traditions, including our rich Unitarian Universalist heritage, and also from science and art and history, literature, and the life stories of others. How many of you have visited our library recently? Okay, you get a special badge. Nice. So, in fact, when I attended my first Unitarian Universalist congregation when I was around 17 years old, I was drawn in by the rich and varied books in their library, which just happened to be in the back of the sanctuary. As drawn in as much by that as I was by the experience of the service. At our best, as Unitarian Universalists, we are dedicated to personal and collective religion making throughout our lives. We recognize that our experiences, when we engage in the discipline of actually reflecting upon them, have the potential to forming who we are personally and spiritually. We know that our conversations, when we venture into actual dialogue, can help expand our individual perspectives and can deepen us as we explore soul matters with others. We strive to have an openness to new truth, new revelations, as we unfold our lives towards justice, compassion, all centered in love. We put our trust not in creeds, but in deeds, not just in espoused values, but in values that propel us through the inward and interpersonal processes that position us to be open to transformation. As we say in our mission statement every Sunday, we are here to fight injustice and to transform the world through loving action. Like any visionary or spiritual institution, there can be gaps between what we aspire or espouse and what we actually do. Make sense to you? Just say yes. That is why here at the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington, we endeavor to focus on those practices that we can engage in that help us and challenge us to embody our values, not just have endless discussions about them. This declaration by the Unitarian social ethicist and theologian has been a grounding one for me through much of my 38 years of ministry within congregations, within our Unitarian Universalist Association, a few interfaith organizations, and seminaries. James Luther Adams says, "We deny the immaculate conception of virtue and affirm the necessity of social incarnation." Virtue, values, without turning them into practices, embodying them, socially incarnating them, is not sufficient for a faith that does not imagine that the incarnation happened to just one person. No, we believe in a radical incarnation that includes each of us embodying what is holy. Now, I'm sure some of you got a little distracted when I said I have been ordained for 38 years. I know someone's probably said to themselves, how could he have been? He looks so young. Yes, you're right. I was a child prodigy. Now, just imagine this scene, Joseph and Mary, when going with their relatives and friends to Jerusalem during Passover, and they lost sight of their 12-year-old son, Jesus, so they had to backtrack to Jerusalem until they found him there, listening asking questions and sharing insights with the teachers in the temple courts of Jerusalem. They were awed by his brilliance at such a young age. Now you have an idea of what it was like for my parents. Today, we are going to embody what I have been calling co-generating at First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. This is one of the several intentional opportunities that we're going to have over the course of this year to learn from and to appreciate the experiences of different generations in our congregations, and as a way to knit together across generations. Today, we will all focus on the topic of gender. I've asked each one of our speakers a range of generations. One will be on video, one couldn't make it, and the other one might be a surprise. We'll see if they show up. I'm looking around the room. So we have a smaller cast of characters and generations than we had planned, but we will persist. So I've asked us all to reflect on that theme of gender, particularly how has our view of gender been shaped in the cohort of our generation. Thank you, Dan, for that reassurance that you represent. And have these views been shifting or changing in response to other experiences that you've had over life? We have no specific agenda here, but to learn from and to reflect upon each other's experiences and to appreciate that we are each composed of stories and that we can revise the stories that we are at any point in our lives. So Darlene, you'll come up first.
Hello, friends. Growing up in the 1950s on a Minnesota dairy farm, my first understanding of gender identity was about the roles we were expected to play. The roles were very clear. My two older brothers worked with my dad doing farm work, and we four younger daughters worked with my mother, raising vegetables, canning, cooking, and doing all the household tasks. In the church, which did not permit women to be officers, men held leadership positions, and women taught children, played music, and prepared food. My mother, being reserved and soft-spoken, modeled what it meant to be feminine, and according to the culture, a godly woman. This was not a good fit for my personality. My dad was gregarious and in charge, as were all the males in the families I saw around me. His world as a leader in the church and community was more appealing to me than my mother's world. In school, it became clear that there were also specific gender expectations outside my home and church. The assumption in my small country school was that girls would be compliant and non-competitive. As a girl determined to play pickup baseball games with the boys before school, beat the fastest boy in running races, and speak up for myself, I was an outlier. No surprise that it led to report cards with markdowns for deportment. For those unfamiliar, that your term was used for manners and behavior. It was confusing because I was a good student and followed the rules. The message I was getting was that I was too competitive. With no organized sports for girls, the outlet for my strong and competitive spirit was channeled into academics. But that too felt limited. When I was 12, my oldest brother started medical school. I began to think I could do that too. However, there were no female mentors to encourage me on that path, and in fact, at that point, I didn't even know any women who had gone to college. So I bought into the message that there was no reason for a girl whose future would include marriage and children to have a career requiring so much education. It was clear I wouldn't have support to follow that path. Fortunately, the story didn't end there. I was determined to have experience beyond my prescribed world, perhaps looking for ways to affirm my personality as a female. During those formative years, there were some small but hugely significant experiences that shaped my gender identity. At age 13, I met my future sister-in-law when my older brother brought her home from college to visit. I was awed. She was elegant and also smart and a successful college student. She definitely had opinions and seemed confident to be an equal with my brother. Her presence during that one Thanksgiving weekend opened my world to a completely new female role model. High school offered more opportunities to speak my mind, and I was encouraged by my involvement with the debate team. My dad wasn't always happy with my newfound confidence in debate, but it's notable that he didn't always shut me down. I began to feel subtly encouraged to be a daughter who had opinions and to be okay expressing them. Perhaps the smallest action had the most powerful impact on me. During a family gathering when I was home from college, I had the courage to speak my mind to an uncle whose beliefs were very different from mine. He repeatedly dismissed my opinions. My mother, who was preparing food, must have been listening in the background. She came and stood next to me and spoke to my uncle quietly but firmly. With a few simple words, she made it clear that my thoughts mattered, that I was okay. I was stunned that she would confront her brother-in-law in my defense. When I think of how to describe the power of what she did, what comes to me is the phrase, "the wind beneath my wings." Her words carried me into adulthood, feeling that as a strong-minded female, I would be okay.
Hello. I'm Susan Boyce. I was born in the early 60s and lived in a small neighborhood set down in the middle of cornfields in southern Lancaster County. Many of our neighbors were Mennonite or Amish, and the rest were fundamentalist Christians of one variety or another. My father was a chemical engineer at Armstrong, the major employer in the area. And most of the more educated members of his company chose to live in the developed areas north of the city. But for some reason, my parents chose the cornfields. I had brothers. One was 2 years older than I, and the other 4 years younger. My parents, being frugal by nature, pretty much insisted that clothing and toys get handed down to the next child in line. This left me as the recipient of a lot of worn-out, baggy boy clothes. And to my embarrassment, black ice skates. There was not much to do in our town. It was so small that it was called Willow Street, not even deserving of a proper town name. However, in the winter, ice skating on the farmers' ponds was something that everyone looked forward to. I begged my parents to get white skates that were new, like the ones the other girls in the neighborhood had. They would hear nothing of it. All the begging and pleading I could do wouldn't soften their hearts. So I'd slog across the fields with my brothers and my black skates slung over my shoulder to the farmer's pond, where I'd watch the girls in their girl coats and their girl mittens and their girl ice skates. They looked so happy. My mother's fierceness in defying social gender norms extended to haircuts as well. The three of us lined up at the barber shop and got the identical haircuts. So it wasn't an infrequent thing for me to be misgendered, and I found that humiliating. I think you can get the picture. One thing that I wasn't paying attention to at the time was that my parents' non-gender conforming attitudes extended to their own behavior. My mom mowed the lawn. My dad fixed dinners and washed dishes. My father was just as likely to give us baths and read to us before bedtime. He engaged me in his hobbies, which were boy hobbies, like engine repair and developing photos in a dark basement and playing the trumpet. And he wasn't afraid to cry when something moved him or made him sad. When I look back now, I treasure the childhood I had. Wonderful, non-conforming parents who didn't even fully grasp the lessons they were passing on. Fast forward to today. Yes, I spent most of my life having long hair to spite my mother. And for years, I overdid the makeup and frills. But that message of gender nonconformity actively infused my own parenting style and the parenting style of my children's father. We consciously chose to raise our children as non-gendered as possible. And I think it worked. We have some of the funnest, weirdest, non-conforming kids that I could imagine. And there was one chance that some of them were going to be here today, and I thought I might have to alter this part, but they're not here. They are non-conforming each in their own way, and I know that my family's history allowed me to accept, learn, and grow when my son Izzy transitioned from being a daughter to a son as he is now. And I am certainly grateful for that. Thank you.
And so now we'll hear from Edris Harrell. She is teaching in our religious formation program now, but she's still able to join us by video.
When I was little, one of the first things I think I learned was that it was important for people to think that I looked good. I received, like most girls do, many compliments on what they wore, what their hair was like. In contrast to my brother, who was complimented on his ability to run faster, be strong. In elementary school, I was allowed and encouraged to be a smart girl, and I learned that women had been breaking the glass ceiling so that I could be whatever I wanted to be. But I also learned in high school that when I was interested in boys, boys were not so interested in smart girls. I also learned it was important to be nice. You didn't get in arguments. You didn't fight. You should be a peacekeeper. And that continued on through my adulthood. I went to a women-centered college where the pressure to smile and be nice was not quite as strong. In graduate school, I had a professor stop in the middle of his lecture to ask me why I was mad, when all I was doing was listening to his lecture. As I've gotten older, I've learned to find my voice. I've always advocated for others, but now I'm doing a better job of advocating for myself. And still, in comparison to my male peers, when I advocate, I'm often labeled as cranky, emotional, or being difficult. The standards for beauty have decreased for my age, but with my favorite actresses now using fillers and removers and lasers and creams, and it makes having a natural aging face feel like a radical act. I'm encouraged by our girls' ability to advocate for themselves, but I'm very concerned about social media's impact on body image. I think we were on a really good trend in allowing girls to be whoever they wanted to be, and for boys to being allowed to express emotions other than anger. But my fear is with this current political climate and social media, we are taking some steps backward. I really hope I'm wrong about that.
Hey, y'all. I guess I'm holding it down for the fellas. All right. I was a latchkey kid, and I grew up in the 90s, so that means I was largely raised by TV. So forgive me all the references I'm going to make for the next few minutes, but I learned how to be a boy from Chandler and Joey, Beavis and Butthead, Will and Jazzy Jeff, Ren and Stimpy, Jerry, George, and Kramer, Uncle Jesse, Uncle Joey and Danny, you name it. I learned how not to be a boy from Steve Urkel, Al Borland, Milhouse, and 1,000 queer-coded Disney villains. Many of these shows and movies consider themselves apolitical, but that's just code for having politics that didn't rock the boat, which just ends up meaning they had the politics of the audience. Apolitical media just means it holds a mirror up to the society that consumes it and reassures it that what you already think, that's normal. Don't question any of that. But then you look at any apolitical media 30 years later, and I've got some thoughts. One of the smallest yet biggest examples, this is a weird one that loomed over me when I was 13 years old. Probably shouldn't have been watching Friends. Was Ross bragging about his night of 5 times. It's not a very famous TV moment, and it's not appropriate enough for me to explain what that is in this building, but it held undue amount of space in my brain as my body was going through changes and I was experiencing new things. The number one theme that TV of that time offered to young boys, at least from my perspective, what I can tell, it dwelled on what it means to be, in particular, a straight man. We say one of the major themes of today's movement in society is white fragility, to encapsulate the anxieties in reaction to having a black president and the Black Lives Matter movement. Looking back on the time of TV, it felt like that was an era of acute straight fragility. Now, I'm not a historian. I wasn't born until the twilight of the 80s. I don't know what the hell happened before I came into the world that made everyone so anxious. I did lose my place. It doesn't just seem like I lost my place. But it had our hackles up for some reason. All I can say, to put it in Zoomer speak, is that the straights were having a totally normal one about it. The message of the if not progressive, then metropolitan perspective of the shows I watch was it's okay for other people to be gay, but God forbid anyone mistake me for being gay. All the Seinfeld heads out there know exactly what example's coming, because there's an episode of that show that is so ridiculously on the nose that it all comes down to one catchphrase. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That episode's hysterical hijinks revolve around the utter mortification Jerry and George have that people are mistaking them as a gay couple, even as they constantly assure the audience, not that there's anything wrong with that. Chandler and Joey taught me that no matter how close you are to a friend, you should keep just enough arm's distance to keep people from questioning your manhood or worse yet, your sexuality. Friends didn't come up with the term no homo, that came later. They just perfected the vibe. This was also the age that brought us the term metrosexuality. That's a throwback. Anyone familiar with that one? Well, that's just a term that we had to invent to explain the perplexing concept of a straight man who showers and dresses himself. The under the surface jokes of the children's show Full House were about how a slim single dad living in San Francisco who actually likes to clean. My God. I think, this is more Larry's realm. There's like a long, interesting story in the colors blue and pink and how they're associated with the different genders and so forth. Again, I'm not a historian. I'm not here to teach you about any of that. All I can tell you is that the cultural moment I was born in, as of when I was a kid, was that there was this whole gendered calculus that went into wearing pink, where it would make you look less manly unless you could pull it off, which was shorthand for saying that if you could go a whole day wearing pink without anyone thinking you're gay or a woman, then that actually made you more of a man. You see, it's complicated, it's nuanced. Now at 38 years old, I'm thinking about boyhood a lot again because I have two young boys growing up in this society. In a lot of ways, I'm happy to say that I'm envious of a lot of the openness and curiosity of today's time around what it means to be a boy. In a lot of ways. A lot of the media is better. But I'm terrified every time they're on a smart device by how few clicks away they are from Andrew Tate, pickup artistry, red pill culture, MMA culture, incel culture, and if you don't get any of these references, then God love you, I envy you. Since much of the last generation's progress has come around gender identity, I'm bracing my family for the wave of cisgendered fragility, where the progress of the trans movement is leading to a backlash against any unconventional expression of their gender. All I can say is that what seems to me like the most powerful tool, their criticism and skepticism. We have to be constantly double-checking the barrage of messages from advertising, social media, television, all the places that compete for our brain. What is our apolitical media reinforcing? What are they reassuring of us that it shouldn't be questioned? And more importantly, we have to teach our kids, our citizens, and ourselves how and why we need to constantly take an active role in what we consume. That's all I got for you.
Thank you, Dan. So, thanks to each of you. I'm going to say just a little bit about myself. Larry, you're always talking about yourself. Well, just a little bit. So, as part of the baby boom post-war generation, it seems that ideas of what it meant to be a boy or a girl, a man or a woman, were pretty uniform. In other words, not only did the boys and girls in my Catholic school wear uniforms, we also had some very standardized, unwavering, it seems, ideas about the preferred qualities, preferred interests, and preferred aspirations for girls and boys. Photo can go away now. I know. Well, I'll show you later. So maybe it was following World War II when so much was unpredictable, where the suppression of the expanded roles that women had had when men were at war meant that there was a reversion to a previous strict gender roles so that returning soldiers would have a place. Conformity, uniformity to gender roles served many functions to a post-war generation, providing predictability, reinforcing sexism, and squashing the fear of the unknown and the uncertain. This trend continued and maybe even got more rigid in the mid-50s when I was growing up, with uniform ideas about the appropriate and the preferred qualities, interests, and aspirations for boys, girls, men, women. There were ways to keep these norms in place. One way was verbal slurs that were hurled if anyone seemed to deviate from what was expected of their gender. Boys who were deemed too sensitive, too expressive, too nerdy about the wrong things were called a sissy, followed by ridiculing laughter. Girls who took an interest in sports, who aspired to work held by men, or seemed too assertive were called tomboys. Television shows like The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet and Leave It to Beaver, that's about as good as I can do, Dan, seemed to enshrine ideas of rigid gender roles and idealize a middle class which some people felt at home with and others felt like it was too alien to their own experiences. Then, in the 1960s, all of this was questioned and gradually eroded. The slurs were even worse for those who appeared attracted to their own sex, and yet the internalized oppression of those who felt that attraction as a lesbian or gay was perhaps even more severe than what they heard from others. Andrew Tobias pointed out in his now classic book, The Best Little Boy in the World, which he wrote under a pseudonym over 25 years ago, talks about young gay men who might cope with the stigma of their sexual identity by strongly investing in achievement and related success. Social research has actually confirmed Tobias's proposition. As one study states, a boy or young man may often conceal their sexual orientation by, quote, investing in external measures of success. In other words, improving self-worth by what he does, since what he is may be unacceptable in some families or social arenas. I only know about that academically. That was an inside joke. We live in a time now when rather than rigid or uniform ideas about gender identity and gender expression, we have more gender expansiveness. In this congregation, our sex education curriculum for middle school and high school youth, Our Whole Lives, invites young people to recognize the constraints of many of the gender roles and gender expressions that we imbibe just as being part of this culture in the United States, and encourages an understanding and a respect for differences and an overarching value of authenticity. At the UUA General Assembly, it was passed as a business resolution that our scientific and sociological understandings of gender have evolved. Our faith, too, has expanded our commitment to explicitly include the spectrum of gender expressions and identities as an integral aspect of our frameworks for freedom and for flourishing. So in this service, I hope that we can have a sense that being able to talk about the social and cultural forces that have shaped and constrained us across generations allows us to learn from one another. It's my experience when we take the time to hear one another's stories, to understand how one another's experiences have shaped, formed, and maybe even limited them, then we're moving into the kind of religion-making laboratory that we try to be here at the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. I was so compelled by the story that Representative Sarah McBride tells in her memoir, Tomorrow Will Be Different, Love, Loss, and the Fight for Trans Equality, that I invited her to speak here, which she'll be doing today at 2 o'clock, as you know. So in a time in our country when it feels like more and more that those who identify as trans, gender queer, or gender non-binary are under attack, it's important that we hear and understand the stories of real people and not just the caricatures or the stereotypes that often get projected.
Wow, thank you to everyone, everyone who shared their stories this morning. That was great. Outreach and social justice have always been very dear to me. So you can imagine that when I was a part of another faith community and I was on their outreach commission, on a number of occasions I was disheartened because each year when we were preparing our budget, the finance committee would approach the outreach commission and ask if there wasn't some way that we could reduce the percentage of money that we were giving to others as our contribution to the budget. Fortunately, we were able to stave off the minority opinion represented by the finance committee. But what's always pleased me is here at First UU, we're continually looking for ways to expand our outreach, to expand our support to causes of social justice and equity. So this morning, it gives me pleasure to announce that for our monthly Share the Plate offering, this month's offering is for Peace Week Delaware, and I invite Jeff Lott, a member of the Peace Week Steering Committee, to share some words with us. Jeff?
Thanks, Ed. Darlene's going to go get my props. I came late. So my message today is really one of just gratitude. I'm so grateful, and the Peace Week Steering Committee is so grateful for the ongoing and just remarkable support that we have received from this congregation. Peace Week this year begins next Saturday, runs 10 days. A week is 10 days. And we hope you will get involved and go to the website, check out the events, register, and come. You know, since 2016, our mission has really been to knit together a lot of the social justice organizations, small and large, across the state of Delaware, to connect, to recognize, and to elevate our state's actions for peace and harmony and justice. And every year, members of First Unitarian have given generously and organized events and provided incredible volunteer leadership for this organization. This year, with your help, we've grown and expanded our vision. In addition to this annual week of events, you have helped us offer 10 new peace poles, like the one out on our sidewalk, to organizations and communities all over the state. These internationally recognized symbols of peace, there are about 200,000 of them around the world. And this year, Peace Week Delaware is just about doubling the number of peace poles that there are in Delaware. So look for peace pole dedication events on your Peace Week schedule. They're fun to go to. And we're pitching our Peace Week tent at communities, community outreach organizations, at street fairs, and places like that, to be a presence in the community year-round. And we're, thank you for your, and we're distributing this little book, and you helped us buy them. And we just ordered, I think, 500 more of them. The Peace Book by Todd Parr. So young readers and their families can get a message of peace. Beautiful one that we've shown you before. And this fall, we offered a 5-week course at the Ollie University of Delaware Osher Lifelong Learning Center. The course is called Exploring Peace, with topics ranging from inner peace to the arts and peace, and to the session that I facilitated last Thursday on peace and justice. None of this might have happened without your support, and that's the gratitude part. Our congregation has just been very thoughtful and impactful all these 10 years with Peace Week Delaware. And we're really particularly grateful these last couple of years for the support of our minister, Larry Pierce, who's helped us bring to center the message of Peace Week in the life of the church. So as a token of our appreciation for Larry, and just as a symbolic gift to all of you, we have a Peace Week T-shirt for Larry. I won't ask Larry to take off his stole and put this on, but would you hold it up?
Sure.
And turn it around, because yeah, because our message, our motto is on the back. If you want peace, work for justice. So thank you, Larry, for your constant encouragement. And thank you all for all you've done for Peace Week. There are many ways to give this morning, and those will be on the screen. And I want to ask you to join me in the unison affirmation and commitment that we make every week. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you so much.
If you have a chalice at home, I invite you to join us in the extinguishing of the chalice. Though we're extinguishing this flame, may it guide us as we extend mercy, justice, and compassion to all generations. And now hear these words by Reverend Michelle Collins. Our time together ends, but compassion's work continues. May you carry forward the courage to choose kindness over convenience, remembering that our gentle choices ripple outward, healing our broken world, one encounter at a time.
Thank you, Ed. So just a few quick announcements before the benediction. Those of you who have reserved lunch, it will be happening in the parish hall. We're going to try to start as close to 12:07 as we can. And those of you who are also staying for the Sarah McBride event today at 2, just know that we are following some security procedures of her office, and so we need to clear the building by 1:20 or so people can go through the security. So just cooperate with us around that. Okay. If you're considering being a member, please speak to me as soon as you can, because I want to make sure you feel invited to our Introducing Unitarian Universalists class, which will happen on Sunday, October 19th, around noon after the service. So our benediction are these words from Jane Goodall. She says, "We have the choice to use the gift of our life to make the world a better place or not to bother." I say, let's make the world a better place this week. What do you say? Now, let's join together in singing our hymn, our closing hymn, 1019. Everything's possible. The words will appear on the screen.
And for those of you that are using the teal hymnal to sing this, there are some word changes, and they will be up on the screen.
Your deeds